Wow, we got a crowd forming already. I guess I picked a good night. Welcome, welcome. Wednesday night. That's right, my Coke beer. If I had a beer right now, I'd fall asleep. Welcome back, folks. Nathan Sheeks. Hello, Tony. You can't spell my name Toe. That would be Mitch. Mitch would be anything toe related. Just saying. Good evening to you. Rick, hello. Nordic, of course. The gang's all here. Yeah, many of the gang's already here. So let me give you a little sneak peek. I said I couldn't work at some place like Disney. I'd have to show you guys all the secrets, and then you'd fire me. So, actually, I couldn't work there because I swear the people that are in charge of the uniforms was like, let's see how we can make these guys look even sillier. You know, I think in Animal Kingdom, they've got a dinosaur area. They've got these uniforms they made with freaking dinosaur prints. And they're on on the back pockets. So it's like, you got some dinosaur that's been, touching everybody's butt. Anyways, behind the magic here. Here is my setup. I'll have to take this off. My painting setup of where I took the pictures of. And of course, you can tell the lighting here it doesn't stink. It is just not very... It's having to fight a lot of stuff. The lighting is very close to this, and therefore you have to fight a lot of the effects of it. It's not that the lighting's bad. The lighting is actually awesome. But this is the setup that I have for taking pictures. It is just a cheap little canvas that I painted with craft paints and some stuff. This is what we used to play on this material. It's a felt that has a color on it. Again, it's not exactly accurate color-wise to what I'm seeing, but anyways, the picture's a little bit more accurate. And I just have it propped up on a couple things of Liquitex, and that's it. It's all, bullshit. So, anyhow, let's get these guys out of here so we got some space. So we're going to put them in the case here. I just take it along with... Man, that's a wrinkled hand. I don't have that many wrinkles, actually. For somebody my age, I really don't. Okay. Put this in the case. And the Normans are done. 7 stands. And we'll go ahead and get this out of the way, too. And get rid of these 2 things. This is the very last thing that I did. Was that this morning? I think I took pictures of it this morning. I was running late. It was either this morning or the previous morning. Everything's just a blur. Alright. Now, we have a work area that is still too cluttered because we got all kinds of paintbrushes and shit like that. So let me spend a few moments getting this stuff out of the way, and then we can get started on where we were, which was painting the Seljuk Turk contingent. Oh, we got limp noodle syndrome here. All right. You good with that? All right. I talk to inanimate objects all the time. Hey, I got to do it at work. I got to talk to a bunch of inanimate objects at work, so... Might not do it here. They don't talk back to me here. All right. We can leave all these brushes here. These are all readily useful candidates. Anyhow, one day closer to the weekend. Hump day. Did you get humped today? Did you hump it? I don't know, it got to be like 8:30 in like no time. Got home from work, ate a quick meal, went to the gym, 8:30. What the hell happened? Let's see. One of Tony's glorious backdrops. They're easy as shit to do. I'll provide the catering when Tony decides to exhibit his backdrops. Nobody wants to look at my artwork. They want to look at stuff that doesn't look like anything, like Picasso. You know, I remember when I was in art appreciation class in college, and I was already painting back then. I mean, not to this level. I'll be honest with you, I got better because I saw other people's stuff, because we're ever able to share ideas with each other. Period. And I hope somebody sees my stuff and it makes them painting better. I mean, that's what I did, you know. I saw other people's stuff and I'm like, oh, I like how that guy did that. Let me try that. But I'm in art appreciation class and the teacher goes, well, you know, you can't say whether it's good art or bad art. And I raised my hand and I said, well, I can tell you the person don't have any talent, you know. And, you know, there's things that are not my favorite style, but then there's some things that are just, you know, take no effort to do. You know, or maybe I never did those drugs. But anyhow, you can't compare a Rembrandt or a Velasquez to Kandinsky. Unless you're on drugs. So, Army's looking good so far. It is. It is. And you know what? I don't know how well they're going to play. I don't care. I just want them to look good because that's the only control I can have. Going to recreate the food found throughout the Star Wars universe, including the blue milk. So the Star Wars hotel opened, I guess, in the last year or whatever, and I have no interest in going because it's all the new movies. So, you know, I wonder whose great idea that was. Talked to my Highland Terrier, but she just talked back outside barking. Huh? I drink bleach no matter what you call it. You must forget I'm always on as far as smart-ass remarks go. That's good. That's what we like about you. That's what we like about you. That's what I like about a lot of people. You can't say that. Oh. Sorry, that's exactly what we're going to talk about now that you told me I can't say it. I'm a rebel. I think this is too zoomed in, but we'll see. We'll take a look at it. We got any mold growing yet? We got any science projects here happening? No. Yeah, it's starting to look a little moldy. Yeah. Maybe. Okay, medium color brown horse. I don't remember what color I was using. Doesn't really matter. We will go with this one. It may be alive yet. It's alive. Let's see if it's alive. It just saves time. It saves time using something that's already out here. We are going to need a paper towel. I don't know how you say towel. Towel de papier. All right. So I had a spill that happened in my car, not the other day, but it reminded me of paper towels. I went through a drive-through about 6 months ago, might have been 8 months ago, where I ordered a large drink. Of course, is there any other size? A large soda. It was Coke Zero, not that it really mattered, but it didn't have any sugar in it. I don't drink sugary sodas for multiple reasons. And here's a reason that it's a good reason not to drink those. But I had a leak in the cup. For whatever reason, this place switched from really thin plastic cups to styrofoam. And styrofoam and a 40-ounce drink don't really work that well together. There was a leak in the side, and the cup holder in my car literally filled to the brim with Coke Zero, and I realized it when I was driving down the road, and I'm like, well, we're not going to have an accident over that. So I always keep spare napkins in the center console, not 20, but like 4. So I use that to soak it, and using a napkin to soak up something, a spill, is worthless. It's all I did was get them wet, and now I got wet napkins and just as much fluid. So I have a roll of toilet paper, not a roll of toilet paper, a roll of paper towels in my trunk. When I need to clean the car or whatever, I just leave one back there. And 2 paper towels later, it was all soaked up. So there's a huge difference between a napkin and what a paper towel can soak up. It's really quite amazing. But yeah, that would have been a sticky mess if that was regular soda. But regular soda would just make me angry. I don't do well with sugar. Brings out the Hulk with no strength. So, that reminds me. Before I turn into a monster, let me take my medicine. A monster with no superpowers. Well, we all have superpowers here in the house. I found that out recently. My wife's superpower is looking at her phone, and the time and all the numbers is the same. So she'll look at her phone and look, it's 222, or it's 333, or it's 444. Kind of a waste of a superpower, huh? My daughter's superpower is, and my wife actually has this superpower as well. She can tell what's going to happen at the end of a movie before it's the end of the movie. So we just finished watching yesterday the final episode of season 4 of Stranger Things, and she had it all figured out. So that's her superpower. My superpower is not getting lost. I don't get lost. Anyhow, so not exactly the Avengers, but not exactly material for a comic book. Stellar Conquest, welcome back. What's occurring? Oh, how proper. You mean what has occurred? Large for the win, yeah, extra large. Only soda I drink is Canada Dry Ginger Ale. It's not bad, except I wish I had caffeine. I need some caffeine in me. You don't drink soda at all. I only drink pop. You freaking Yankee. I call it soda. I always do. I don't call it Coke when it's not a Coke. That's wrong too. Just don't go to the store here and accidentally ask for the pot instead of the pop. Yeah. Pop. You Yankee. So you know how you find out? I know I've brought this up before. You know how you find out if somebody's a Yankee, right? I mean, it's a surefire way, guarantee you find out if somebody's a Yankee. Step 1, you call them one. Step 2, if they don't mind, they're a Yankee. If they don't come at you. Oh, shit. Easiest way to never get lost is never plan where you're going. Well, I don't get lost. I always know which way north is. Haven't had caffeine in almost 2 years. How do you live, man? It's the only drug I do. I don't know if I could function without it. I'm a caffeine worshiper. But just like an Irishman and alcohol, I could drink a pot of coffee and go to sleep immediately. So now I'll wake up multiple times during the night, but you know. I've had caffeine before where I'm like, man, I don't know how I'm going to get this done. Next thing you know, you have some coffee, and the next thing you know, it's like, oh, this is all you got for me? It goes from, I can't get it done to, oh, I can do this and more. It's really quite amazing. We had a long time ago when we used to make coffee in the office. A long time ago, like I'm talking like 2000, 2001, something like that. We had just like one of those Mr. Coffee things or whatever, and take turns bringing the stuff. And some people always brought like really nasty coffee. What's the chock full of nuts or whatever the hell that shit's called. Anyhow, but we were having kind of like a contest. I don't know, really a contest because there wasn't anything to win, but we were kind of daring each other to see who could make the strongest coffee. So the guy before me had put in 13 scoops, and this is just a standard one, 13 scoops of coffee in a regular coffee maker. So I one-upped him, and I figured, well, 13 is not a very round number. Just do 15. I'll tell you what, 15 scoops of coffee in a coffee maker. I left for lunch. I had to turn radio off. I was like predicting the future, and I was right. You know, I had created like a time machine in my mind, and you know, I could foretell what was going to happen, and it was correct. Yeah, it's a bit too much. I don't drink that much, but I do have it every morning. If it was the weekend, I would have some now. But I'm afraid I would have a not very restful night's sleep if that was the case. So let's not go to those extremes yet. But I have had too much caffeine while I was painting before and never got the jitters. It wasn't like I was jittering or anything like that. Oh, I guess we need to... never got the jitters from it. I did get the shiny, you know, I'd distract myself all the time, you know, with what's this over here and what's this over there. So here we go. Mr. Kevin, you're a wrestling fan. You know, the problem with wrestling is, you know, it's all staged. Those guys are badass. I mean, they can kick your ass, but it's all like pre-planned. That's that makes me not want to watch things when things are like pre-planned. Like even the first reality show. What was it? Real World? Wasn't Real World the first reality show? I didn't watch it, but or Survivor. I'm sorry. One of those two. And Survivor should be like 8 people, nobody on the island, hidden cameras, no rules. The boat comes in a week. We're only going to pick up one person. If there's 2 of you left, we kill you both before you come on the boat, you know? That's what it should be. It should just be hidden cameras, you know? And put bad people on the island, you know? People that, you know, people don't mind, you know, disappearing. That's Survivor, not, all right, you got to do this great challenge, and you know, whoever survives that, okay. And then the next thing's a vote. What is this voting shit? You know, this is Survivor, not, you know, filibuster. I don't know. Nobody wants to take my ideas. I think they'd be good for entertainment. You can't tell me that people would not watch gladiatorial combat. You never liked Cody. Cody literally found you can't ditch him now. I don't watch WWE. I'm not a kid. I started watching wrestling in the 1980s with my grandfather and dad and just kept up with it since. Huh. So wrestling to you is like Hogan's Heroes is to me. I watch Hogan's Heroes with my dad. I just don't like anything that's pretending to be something it's not. You know? I mean, they're big guys. Those guys are strong guys, but, you know. I'm sure some people out there think it's real. I admit, I would absolutely watch gladiatorial combat. I would. They've got to be really bad people, though. You know, they can't be like folks that are like, you know, you can't put children, you can't put, you know, you can't put You can't put anybody defenseless out there. I mean, they got to have a chance, but you know, it's got to be people that, you know, nobody would watch football. People would watch, you know, everybody would be like Trident, 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 and the guy with the trident or whatever, you know. Yeah, one of your favorite movies is Gladiator. You definitely watch it for sure. Somebody was saying that the Roman helmets were wrong on that. I didn't catch it, but then I wasn't such a Roman armor Nazi to catch that stuff back in the day. And you know, hey, it's Hollywood. They did a pretty damn good job considering the screw ups they do all the time. I mean, they do some major screw ups. I swear they do them on purpose. Just imagine how many more screw-ups Hollywood would do in war movies if Dale Dye wasn't there to straighten their ass out. There we go. We need this little happy light to find out where these other colors are. Okay, this was the earth color. Wrestling to me is an art form mixed with some drama. And it's good stuff, really had bad stuff. Some of the moves actually are real. When they chop someone or open palm smack someone, it's real. Plus actions do happen sometimes. Yeah, what year did it come out? 2000? I think that's about right. I think it was 2000. 11 or 12, so that movie actually blew me away. I saw it in the movie theater. And I don't watch that many movies in a movie theater. And I'd never played an Ancients game yet. I loved it. He was a perfect cast. You know, people think that the Emperor was a perfect... lots of people could have played the Emperor. Lots of people could have played the Emperor. But he was cast so well. Oh, so you like Gladiator. Do you like Centurion that has Fassbender in it? I think Centurion's great too. Yeah, it's not realistic. Whatever. It's not horrible. It's not The Eagle. Remember, it's Hollywood. You got to kind of work with whatever they give you, which is most of the time not a lot. You know, it's embarrassing how bad they get things. But I really liked Centurion. I didn't like it better than Gladiator, but it was. It actually has a lot of actors in it that I care for, so that helps. It's got David Morrissey and Liam Cunningham and a couple other folks. I can't remember who the hell they are, but it's Severus that died at the beginning. No, that's Marcus Aurelius. Dale Dye, commander of rifle company in Vietnam. I think he was involved in Battle of Wei, right after a Tet offensive. Yeah. Wait, Cry Macho claims what it was. Okay. Cry Macho was okay? Alright. I'm gonna watch that this weekend. You like Centurion because of Olga Kurylenko. She didn't do anything for me. The Poots girl's cute though. She has a horrible name. But the Poots girl was cute. I prefer my women with tongues. Centurion was the very first thing you ever watched on Netflix. You know the very first thing I watched on Netflix, and I mean by on demand, No Country for Old Men. And don't remember anything about it other than what's his name's bad haircut, and I can't stand what's his face, that Bardem guy, and not because of that movie. I just can't stand the dude. You know. Actors that you can't stand. Whew, it's a long list for me. But look up Centurion. It's not bad. It might even still be on Netflix. It's a decent movie. Yeah, well, she looked cute in that movie. I don't know how she is in real life. Poor girl's got a terrible last name. Poots. She's got the poots. And I like Fassbender. What else? Rome. Hopefully everybody's seen the Rome series. I need to watch that again. I've seen it only once. Didn't love some of the casting choices, but there's something for everybody in that one. Tried watching a new Bond movie and had to shut it off about halfway through it. I thought it utterly sucked. So I'll work my way to it. I have heard people are 50-50 on it. And I know because I'm a member of at least one or two 007 groups on Facebook. And it is just like, give me the popcorn, and people are just nasty and opinionated. Everybody pretty much agreed on the best part of that new movie is the Cuban girl. Pretty much everybody agreed with. That's pretty much everybody, and like, oh, she should have had a bigger role. So, I'm going to agree with you, and I'm going to agree with that, and I haven't even seen it. Yeah, people are all over the place on that movie. But you know, the thing is they relaunched the character. They said, oh, well, they killed him. Well, okay, but they brought him back to life because, you know, they started over with Craig. You know, I've watched, how many movies did he do? 4, including this last one, or is this on the 5th one? I've seen 2 or 3 of his. I haven't seen, actually, I've seen all of his except the last one and the Solace one. And he's okay. I don't have a problem with him. I mean, he's not my favorite, but he's not, you know, he's not horrible. So, they just relaunched the character, you know. I didn't like Casino. I gotta tell you, I didn't like Casino Royale very much because I don't like that Mads Mikkelsen dude. He's just, again, he's child molester material, and maybe that's what they were going for, but I don't like that dude. I don't like that dude. Need to watch Pro again. Have it on DVD. You liked it, but I'm easy to please. James Bond fan. I thought the movie was utter trash for a number of reasons. Grand that Tony out of the armor, stunning. Definitely need a bigger role. That's what Alleyway Alley says, Rick. Oh, yeah. You're easy to please. Yep. All right. I need to go get another beverage. I'm not going to go to sleep anytime soon, so I'm going to pour myself a coffee. Be right back. Huh. I never turned on the lamp in the corner. See if that makes a difference. Yeah, a little bit. A little bit in that top one. Oh. This is movie night, right? We're going to talk movies? Yeah, we can talk about anything. How about Northman? I haven't seen that. How's that movie with one of my favorite actors? Well, one of my favorite modern actors. I don't agree with a lot what he says, but I think he's a fine, good actor, and that's DiCaprio. What's that movie that he did where he ends up like getting stuck in the middle? I think it's him. They get stuck like fighting some grizzly bear or something like that. Is that worth watching? If you guys have seen it, saw the preview. The preview of it looked pretty good. He does a really good job, I think, of turning himself into somebody else, of turning himself into a character. He's like an anti-Costner. So that's what they pay. That's what we pay you for, you know. You know, Costner, Harrison Ford can do Harrison Ford. That's all he can do, you know. Kind of felt that way with a new Dune. I haven't seen the old Dune. I was going to watch it as a kid, and my sister wouldn't take me to it. It's like, you won't understand anything, so I didn't get to go. Oh, screw you, I won't watch it then. Something came up recently. I don't watch very many science fiction movies, but something came up recently. Might have been because it was the 25th anniversary of it or something like that, of Starship Troopers. And I remember seeing that in the movie theater. I didn't read the book. I have no interest in reading that book. I mean, I read books, but not something like that. I mean, why bother? And I thought the movie was freaking hilarious. So I didn't hate the movie. And I wanted to go see it with some other people that I actually went to go watch it with people that I really didn't know very well, and I hit it off with this other guy. And he you know when you go to the theater and you go to the movies and it's like something that's funny, but then somebody else is there that has the same kind of humor that you have, and then gets you rolling, and you just keep going and you can't stop. And that's kind of how my experience was with Starship Troopers, but. Yeah, it's stupid, but there was some funny stuff. I remember seeing it, and I thought the special effects of the frickin' bugs and stuff was really good for. Hey, it was 1997. That was pretty good, you know, for that. I actually played the game a couple times. You know, the game. It's kind of like a. What's that game? What's that board game that nobody can win? Descent, or so I've heard. Nobody can win. Arkham Horror. There's the game that nobody can win. The Starship Troopers miniatures game is kind of like that as well. Okay, we're going to stick with this color horse. Now, I never did figure out what color. This looks like this guy's got a onesie or a long parka type thing. I really don't know what color hat this guy should have. Let me take a look at some pictures. Well, let me see what people said, and then we'll take a look at some pictures. Drinking iced coffee, Tony. Revenant is a really good movie. Okay, that's what it's called. Okay, good. You don't see the sequels. Yeah. Arkham Horror is a beast of a game. It is. I've played it a couple times, and it's just. I don't mind. I actually like cooperative games. I actually do. Yeah, we played that Aliens game. The Aliens game was pretty freaking cool. Betrayal: The House on the Hill. I don't know if I've played that one. I've played one of those zombie type games like that, and I like them. I like those. I happen to like cooperative games. What I don't like is the game where you have to play the dick. You know, like Battlestar Galactica. Not a cooperative game. You know, so I like cooperative games. Don't get me wrong. I don't mind being an asshole when somebody deserves it at the right time. Not like, okay, you have to be an asshole the whole game. I'm like, come on, man. Starship Troopers, that was straight out of childhood. Is a perfect mix of action, some comedy parts, perfect for an 8-year-old with all that gore. Yeah, it was pretty gory. The goriest movie I remember seeing, and I haven't seen it in a long time, because it's been a long time since it came out, was RoboCop. RoboCop, I remember being extremely gory. Now, if I watch it now, I might be like, oh, it's not like it's The Boys or anything. Pretty much convinced I'm not letting my daughter watch The Boys ever. So she'll have to watch it on her own when she no longer lives here, because that is funny, but way past the threshold. That makes Deadpool seem like reading Rainbow. Yeah, the hidden role games were one. Vern versus R aren't my favorite. Yeah, I won't play another one. I just don't want to play them. You know, I don't want to play them. I don't mind the Kingmaker type games where somebody's got to win. Okay, and you got to keep that one guy from winning so that you can win. I mean, that's all games have that, but. RoboCop was the one with the seashell bathroom thing. No, that was that's funny because I don't remember that. That was the one with that was Demolition Man, I think. I remember seeing that movie and I'm like, who is this Sandra Bullock chick? She is hot as hell. I remember when that was like 1999 or something like that. Yeah, she looks great in that movie. Yeah, that was Wesley Snipes and Stallone. I can't stand Stallone. I really can't. I don't know. It's a stupid movie that you watched it when you were younger because that's what we did. Now I'd be like, oh, that movie comes out, I wouldn't give it a second chance. Saving Private Ryan was gory. You know what? But it's supposed to be. Everybody figure out how to use the seashells. No, I think it was just a hidden joke. I think it was a hidden joke in there, just like I think about this every time that I go to the grocery store. We buy a lot of yogurt. I'm expecting somebody to say, "Man, you buy a lot of yogurt," especially if it's like on sale. And I'm like, "Well, haven't you seen Burn Notice?" Because in Burn Notice, it's a big inside joke that they're always going in the fridge and having a yogurt. I don't really think they ever explain why that's the case. So. There's gore, and then there's gore for the sake of gore, and that's when it's over the top. One of my favorite scenes in Saving Private Ryan. There's a couple of scenes when I was watching it. First of all, I didn't expect the movie to be what it was. I expected it to be not as action-packed as it was. For somebody who's into like World War II skirmish. Especially when that came out, that's exactly what we were doing. Yeah, that was a really neat movie, and there was two scenes that I liked. The first one that I liked, this one happened first, was when they actually had those German half tracks in it that were running around, which they weren't really German half tracks. They were like some Czechoslovakian post-war thing, but they almost looked exactly like a real one. So I got really excited seeing that because, that's what you go to see war movies for, is hardware, in action and color. Or at least that's where I go to see it. And so that was exciting. And then the other scene is that one scene when they're fighting in the town and they bring that 20 millimeter gun. And that's one of those things when we were creating a skirmish game at that time. And we're like, well, how does this 20 millimeter gun work with this magazine fed and everything? And you get to see it there in action. It's not really used as an anti-personnel gun, but it can be. And when it turned that one guy into a watermelon, I thought that was pretty cool. Not that I want to see somebody's head turn into a watermelon, but I'm just saying, you got to see that in action. So an actual veteran's D-Day who saw Saving Private Ryan start crying from how realistic it was. It actually affected me. I was very, and I don't know anybody, I don't have anybody in my family that's a veteran. It was definitely, it was very somber. Hoffman Samatobin. Welcome. Trying to get a unit cherry paint while we're watching. Well, we're just talking movies and what have you, so. It always happens that way. I'm going to take a silent moment and a moment of silence And, oh man, I disconnected my mouse. Pooper scooper. All right, we're gonna go and, give me a second. Let me get some ideas on, I'm gonna type Seljuk Turk Horseman. I did this the other day, but then I promptly quit. And image. You don't know how to get ideas from something? Go to Google Image and do a Google Image search. It's truly amazing. And don't take anybody's word for it. Do your own research and come up with your own choices. Okay, some of these guys have almost like a purple type thing. All right. Well, I know the first guy I'm doing. Not super purple, but just purplish. Right. Good. Let's use a color we don't use very often. All right. And they got big boots. Of course they got tall boots. A custom Three Kingdoms army. Nice. If they would have had those figures, I would have built one of those armies already. Big fan of Romanza Three Kingdoms and stuff like that. Played several of the video games and several of the video games with Dynasty Warriors and yeah, they're stupid. That's my wrestling equivalent. I don't watch wrestling, but I play Dynasty Warriors. All right, let's get a color out here that is a little bit fruity looking. And I mean that in a good way. And I may have to make it. I got all these colors, but I just kind of use them as starting points for mixing things. So let's take a look at this color down here and see if this is of use to us. Oh man, it's wedged all the way down here. This guy does not get much use. Oh, there go my Brits. You shouldn't be there anyways. Violet red. You could tell this one hasn't been used in a while. Violet red. It's not going to end up being this color. It's not going to end up being this color. It's just going to be, that's my starting point. Oh. Man, it really wedged in here. Let me save my, who is it that fell down here? Campbell? Yeah, Campbell fell down. You know, I really like the setup that I have for my paints. Unfortunately, sometimes one of them gets wedged in. And then it really creates kind of chaos I don't really care for. Not a fan of chaos. Oh. All right. Let's see where we go with this. And if it doesn't turn out well, well, we can just do something different. Should perk out some pink and purples for the Turks. Well, these guys are mercenary guys, and they're light horse. So, you know, if they had more money, you know, color tints cost things. So I don't want to get too crazy. I was going to build a Seljuk Turk army. However, Luke went and bought one. Damn it. I may still build one at some point. So, you just got done playing a Romanza Three Kingdoms game. They're up to 14 now. Just confuse the Turks with Persians, pink and purple are college colors. Are they? You think you have Romanza Three Kingdoms 7 or 9, which I got really excited to play. They had one that was like a MMORPG, whatever the hell it's called. One of those role-playing games. But it got terrible reviews. But the music in those games is freaking awesome. I like that kind of metal music that they made specifically for those games. I think it kicks ass. Special Reaper paint that looks like violet red. Really good at 9. Spent way too many nights as a team playing 9. Oh, I've played 3, 4, and 5 mostly. Dynasty Warriors, anyways. And then I got one that has the strategic stuff. They're fun, you know? They're fun for what they are. There's just some characters I just don't like, you know? I think when I first started playing it, I ended up picking up Zaho Yun. I played him for a while. Who's the dragon guy? No, not Ma Tang. Ma Chao. That guy looks awesome. The guy with the dragon armor. And that's only because you don't get to play Lu Bu, because Lu Bu is freaking awesome. Lu Bu is awesome. But there's a company that makes Romance of Three Kingdoms, not Romance of Three Kingdoms, but they do make figures, and that's we could take care of this hangnail before we get out of before I end up picking it away. That was low. They make figures for the Three Kingdoms period, and that is Lurkio. And their general looks exactly like what's that guy's name? Zhang Fei, I think is what it is. He's the guy with the big, not Guan Yu, but the other sidekick, the drunk guy. Or maybe it is Guan Yu that he looks like. Anyways, so that's kind of cool. Your mascot's a panther. Yeah, Ma Chao. I love the way Ma Chao looks. Artichoke is a mascot. You have a pink and purple artichoke. Okay. What company makes Three Kingdoms? A company called Lurkio. They don't make a lot of different stuff, but they make that. And the figures look pretty darn good, honestly. They're in the UK, of course. Your mascot is a blonde farmer who wears red and enjoys corn. Yeah. Go look up, dumbest mascots ever. And you can find some really interesting stuff. Those guys you just described, even the artichoke, they don't even come close. I mean, there's some really stupid stuff. Lurkio, yep. Rick, you can't be your own mascot. Are you blonde? Blondish. I know, it's one of those. I used to be blonder when I was younger. Well, people's hair color changes. I was never blonde. Sorry to disappoint all you guys. I have a blonde hair or two sometimes. All right, so let's darken this purple up. Red purple or purple red or whatever the hell it was called. What was it called? Violet red? As opposed to violent red. All right, let's make this dark shade, and we're going to paint this Joker completely in this. And we're going to stray, I think we're going to stray pretty far. Well, we're going to want to stray pretty far from this. This is just kind of the starting block. I am probably not going to add any more of this core color to that. So that we'll end up getting shades that look kind of like, let's grab some of this. Shades that look more like this into something like that. That's the kind of colors that we're aiming for. We don't want them really full of color, we want them kind of faded. So let's start off with painting the whole. So I described the way I paint kind of like a number line, with positive and negative numbers. And this would be normally the 0 point. You add white, it becomes +1, +2, +3. You add black, it becomes -1, -2, -3. You add more, a lot of black is -3, and you work. You work your way up. So I normally paint with the most negative color and work my way up. But sometimes what I like to do is treat this never go into the positives. So, you know, I start creating a color like this and just assume this is the core color instead of this one and start adding white to it. And by picking different spots on the number line, so to speak, of when you start adding lightening colors, which is almost always white for me. Sometimes it's yellow, but it's almost always white, or occasionally it's a beige, but it's really unlikely to not be white. You can create a lot of different colors by using the same core color. You know, because you can, you know, if you start with your basic color being this one, and you add white from there, add a little bit of white, it turns into that, add more white, turns into this, add more white, turns into that, okay? If I do the same thing, but instead of starting here, I start with, say, here, now add white. See how it changes? It's a much warmer color as opposed to a cooler one. And then again, if I just go straight into this, and as I add color to it, it turns into something else. So you could paint 3 different figures with this and you're still using the same color, just depending on where you start off with adding, and that could have been a problem. Let's get that exact amount out of there. It's all because this thing's moving around from the fan. All right, so that's kind of how I paint, and I've always painted, well, not always painted, but about 1996, 1997, I started painting that way, and I don't know, I watched something probably I saw somebody's painting things in a White Dwarf magazine, really liked it, and kind of did my interpretation of what I was seeing and how they got about that, so. Oh man, let's go back. Man, you guys are on a roll. You'll have to know I don't own a single pair of overalls. Not even with one strap down. Remember that was a thing back in the late 80s, early 90s? College originally was a Mormon school and wanted to discourage football. Well, having those 2 colors and a artichoke for a mascot would certainly do that. You're born with blonde hair and had blonde hair for about 8 years before it moved to dirty blonde and then dark brown. I don't blame him. Football's a horrible sport. Reality is not the most reliable source of information. Her Jack Daniels breath should indicate. Well, at least she's not drinking Jim Beam. Trip around the gas station or shopping. Oh, man. All right. So, color theory class is another night. So you could do a lot with if you only had a few colors. Like I have lots of colors, but I don't need that many. I just kind of use them as starting points for things. Anyways, back to, let's get more substance here because we're going to need to cover the entire figure in this color. So anyways, this is what I'm aiming for. And it may look like shit, in which case we'll just paint over it. A color that's actually relatively difficult to get is a color for like a purple cape for a general or a king. You almost have to make one. It's very difficult to find the right purple out of a bottle. I have lots of different purples and I damn near have to mix one. And I don't know why. It's very hard to get that. They're too reddish, most of them. So we might have to do some purple capes and things like that soon. Whatever the hell that means. No, we got an emperor to do. He's going to be all, he's going to have purple shit on him for sure. Old Romance of the Three Kingdoms. Ones I've played the least is Wu. Not a big fan of Wu. The red guys. They got a couple of cool guys, but that's about it. They definitely have the least amount. Samurai Warriors isn't bad either. It's got techno music instead of metal music. You're on a roll. Rick is feeding me ammo to shoot all night. Only time I want a specific color if I'm painting an army, it has to be that same color, so it's easier to constantly mixing. Yeah. I actually find the mixing process relaxing. Very much so. And the wet palette helps because I'm more likely to consume all the color that I mix than if it was just on a regular thing, because it's going to dry out on me. But I used to use a shim, like a big plastic shim, or the tops of like Pringles cans. I used to use those as my mixing palette, but it'll dry on you when you're not expecting it. Zaho Dune is my favorite to play in Dynasty Warriors. I know who he is. He's the cavalry guy with a eye patch. You loved Wu as a kid. Yeah, it's the one I played the least. I heard the purple of ancient times more like blue than our purple today. Royal blue, maybe? Yeah, maybe. Zaho Dune, yeah. He's a Wei guy. The guy with the eye patch. Who's the big fat guy with the mace? He's a Wei guy too. Yeah, I never play the main guys. It's funny how you can remember those guys' names. I haven't played that in a long time, but start reading about them. Like, their names aren't confusing because you have a visual to put on them. Obviously it's a cartoon visual. It's totally fake. The real people didn't look like that. Like, I didn't think that Red Cliff movie was that great. It didn't captivate me. That barbarian guy you have to fight in the south, he's a pain in the ass. You have to beat him. Every time you beat him, he like retreats or some shit like that. You have to end up like beating him like freaking 9 or 10 times. Let's see. Confucius say Tony will start playing 40K and we'll have 5 different chapters of Space Marines. I would too. Let's see, if I had to pick a chapter of Space Marines, I like the Ultramarine guys. I like that U symbol. And the wolves look cool. I just don't like those games that are like, you know, it's in the future, but you can only shoot this far. I'm like, come on, dude. Like, you know, pistols shoot farther than that in real life. I know, they're just trying to sell figures. Looks like Lurkio Miniatures doesn't have a website. They used to. Find a link for that. Yeah, it's the guy who ate his own book. Su Chu. Oh, they changed a little corporal? Okay. The Red Cliff movie was garbage. Okay, good. That wasn't just me. The thing about Chinese armies is if you watch any movies that have Chinese troops in them, they have all the wrong armor, but they look super freaking cool. Like, any Chinese troops they have, like, if you watch any kind of movie, like, what was that movie with Hero or something like that, that supposedly, like, the First Emperor. I think Hero takes place in the First Emperor. And the troops in that are wearing all black, and they look cool as shit. And they got helmets that look cool as shit. And, you know, they just invented crap because nothing looks like that. You know, they don't make any figures with, you know, Chinese troops that have cool helmets. No. The coolest Chinese troops that have helmets are the Coruscant figures for the Sung. Those guys look pretty badass. But generally, you'll see Chinese troops in movies, and they just look like incredible. Like, ooh, I want to paint those guys. And they don't make figures that match that. So, I imagine you love it. You play with an open mind. Of course, it's 40K. It's an open wallet. I wouldn't like 40K because I don't think I'd like most of the people that play 40K. Same reason with role-playing games. I don't have a problem playing role-playing games. If it was our crew playing role-playing games, I'm good with it, you know. Yeah. 7 times. Meng Huo means 7 captures or something like that. Is that who that barbarian bastard is? I don't know. Tony's Space Marines, he would do Astra Militarum. I have no idea what the hell it was. I picked the most generic Space Marines. Well, it's the only ones I remember. I used to have the book that was, you know, that the binding came out of. I never played the game. I have some miniatures for the Black Legion of Abaddon the Despoiler, the War Master of Chaos. Oh, just invent stuff. The Bachelor, not quite. It's kind of complicated, but I'm still going to be doing a lot of painting in the next 4 days, but there'll be other people around. Hero is one of my favorite martial arts movies. No one beats Jet Li. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've just seen cuts of it. China's spitting out those movies like crazy. Yeah. I would love a miniatures game based on Keep on the Borderlands. Because that module, I mean, I haven't played since I was 14 freaking years old, but, you know, that's what it is. You got all these caves. Which one you going into? You know? And you have that hermit and his freaking pet tiger, panther, or leopard, or whatever the hell it was that jumped on people. It was perfect, you know? God, I don't know if I could name 5 chapters. Ultramarines, Space Wolves. There's one that has like bleeding something or another. I didn't care for that shit. There's one of them that's like ugly. It's like dark green. Like, I'm not interested in that. Yeah, you're right. I could name 3. I don't know if I named 3. I haven't looked. I've never played the game. You changed the chapter name. So, the one thing I did want to play that I actually had figures for and never got around to playing, and again, it's because I saw an issue of White Dwarf, was Epic. And I loved seeing the demons. The demons were freaking awesome. But then I got like the little miniature guys, the little figures like the Chaos Warriors, and they were just like too, I never played it. I just find the rules are just really hard to jump in and start playing on your own. They're I don't know, overwhelming. Well, the funny thing is Mitch actually has a ton of Epic stuff. But I remember some issue of White Dwarf magazine, and they had the demons running around with these sticks. Now, you're still like, they're still like 30 feet tall or 20 feet tall, the smaller demons. And I'm like, that would just be great just for all the voices you could do. And they were the corn, I guess that's how you say it, corn demons or whatever. But I actually had the big, whatever the Lord with the big sword or whatever. It's like, that would be cool to do that. But I never painted any of them, and I never played the game, and I ended up selling them on eBay or something like that. But never played it. Nobody in my area played it. I just decided to buy it on a whim, and it was one of those things that I bought and never did a damn thing with it. So I overpaid for it when I bought it, and then got money back for it. So, but as Nordic says, I can't be into everything. So this stuff that I'm painting now, I will use it a lot. So, Dark Angels, okay. Theater of the Mind, I utterly despise miniatures and Dungeons and Dragons. Huh. And see, I wouldn't want to play a role-playing game without figures. Because I think that the figures, I want to play a tactical game. I want to play something like Hero Quest. I don't want to play like I roll for traps or, I'm not interested in the role-playing part of it. By the way, you guys played Diablo Immortal? It's out on your phones. You guys all have phones, don't you? It's okay for what it's great for free. It's a time suck. I don't spend any game that you can play for free or spend money. I spend no money on it because I'm tired of it by the time that you do it. But I'm a big fan of the Diablo series. More enemies down, corners, records. Yeah. Yeah. Anyhow, I thought it was pretty good for free. They go into all these details you can go to customize your character when you first start playing the game. And you don't realize that at no point do you ever see all those details. Is there ads? No, there's no ads. There's absolutely no ads in the game. What there is like... So apparently, there's stuff that works on some people that doesn't work on me. For instance, World of Tanks, right? Most of us have played World of Tanks. You can play the game for free. It's a free game as far as I'm concerned. But you can buy stuff in it. Well, I'm never going to buy that stuff because I'll just grind for it because that's how you earn it, right? Now, there's some things you can't earn. It's special edition, this, that, and the other. But Diablo Immortal is the same way. Now, the most amazing thing is, I can't speak for all of Blizzard's products, but any ones that have captivated me, they really are way above the curve on everything else. When they put Diablo 3 on the console, it was better, in my opinion, than it was on the computer. Because, we like to do a lot with the actual term for it is couch co-op. So everybody's in the same room and you're playing on one machine, and this screen literally like stretches like a globe. It's very subtle, but it's very well done. Everything Blizzard does, they seem to do really well, in my opinion. And what Diablo Immortal does really well is you can play for 2 hours and your phone only goes down like 8%. It's amazing. It uses no power hardly at all. I don't know how in the hell they do it because there is a lot of shit going on all the time. So it's basically, if you haven't played it, it is standard Diablo that meets World of Warcraft with much faster refresh times on the bad guys than World of Warcraft. Is the best way to describe it. It's like a mix of the two. And of course it looks just like you're used to in Diablo. So if you like that isometric 3D, which we do, that's the kind of role playing I like. I don't want to, talk to people all the time and, that kind of shit. But I thought it was great, I thought it was great it's certainly for free, so you can download it and, oh, I don't like it. Well, you didn't spend a dime, Actually interested in painting miniature Dungeons and Dragons, building terrain for it, would not use that stuff in the game. I don't feel like it adds anything to the game. Yeah, I can't believe it's free either. But anyways, so stuff that doesn't work on me is, there's no ads, but there's a lot of stuff when you get to the more complicated things, they want you to like buy a season pass, whatever. So you kind of have to like, okay, let me unlock this. Oh wait, that's not free. Never mind. I won't do that. There's a little bit of that, but I'll never pay a dime for it. I mean, now, if I had to pay $40 for the game, I would pay $40 for the game. But I don't want to play a game where it's kind of like painting figures. Okay, you can paint your own figures, or you can buy them from somebody already pre-painted. I feel like when you spend real money in a game that's really meant to grind, you're basically paying somebody else to paint your figures. That's the way I look at it. Grinding is just part of it. If it gets too grindy, you just don't do that. You move on to something else. But anyhow, I'm really surprised how well it's done, considering the whole debacle that they had about when they announced it, and that Asian guy just caught so much shit for it. Which, the way he handled it, of course he should have. The way he just, you guys all have phones, don't you? I thought it was just going to disappear. The next thing I know, on June 2nd, it's available. And I'm like, what the hell is this all about? So I think it's pretty good. It's certainly good for free. I would have spent real money on it if that was the only way to play it. But it has a lot of characters. They give you 5 characters? I guess it has all of the all the characters from Diablo 3, except the Witch Doctor, which I haven't played very much. But but Diablo is the only game that that finished at every difficulty, well, within reason, because it could get exponential in the other things, but basically the 3 standard difficulties, how they used to have it before, with all of the characters. And usually it's, I don't do stuff like that. It'd be like, oh, I like this character and that's the one I play. But because there's lots of different ways to play all the different characters, that really works for me. Okay, we need to paint a bow on this guy. And but yeah, check it out. It's free. What could go wrong? But the D&D miniatures game, no role playing, can't recall what it was called. You talking about Chainmail? I never played it. Yeah, I don't care for the role playing aspect. I don't mind light role playing, but heavy role playing, within your imagination, it's not for me. Everybody's seeing something different. I don't mind things that involve miniatures. I can paint. I enjoy painting. I get it. Some people don't want to paint, but those games that have lots of multiplayer in it, I go and I play games online frequently. Not frequently, occasionally. I don't want to talk to anybody that I don't know. I just think, why? What's the investment in it? Why should I bother? You know? It all started when they let these 8-year-olds play these mature games. Then, you know, they're 4 foot tall with a 6 foot mouth. I'm like, I don't want to listen to that stuff. You know, I don't care. Oh, it's fun arguing with him. No, it's not. Arguing's a waste of my time. So it's pretty decent for free. But you know what? Hearthstone's free. And I thought that was a pretty decent game when it came out. For what it is. I mean, I don't really care for that whole card building thing. It's just, you know, it looks good like everything else Blizzard does. They have their shit together as far as display style and to make it appealing. Or at least I like the style that it's done. But it's something, you know, I can't go to. Well, let's see. One night, one night I wasn't able to sleep. I woke up like a bunch of million times in the middle of the night. What night was that? I think it was Sunday night. So I woke up at like 3, and I'm like, man, I couldn't go to sleep. So I just played some Diablo on the phone until I fell asleep, which didn't take long because it actually puts me to sleep. It's a pretty relaxing game. And I'm not a fan of, as I've gotten older, I've become not a fan of games that stress me out. That doesn't mean I don't want a game that's not challenging. I just don't want one that just, they won't freaking leave you alone for a second. You know, like, sometimes you just need a breather. Play dice. It does not. It's more combat focused, so I prefer. I mean, he's dice rolling. I love dice rolling. You're the main gamer among my friends, so unless I orchestrate the whole thing, it isn't happening. Do you find it gets tiring to be that person, Rick? Like, there's a person I used to game with all the time, and if I didn't initiate getting together, that person wouldn't initiate it at all, and I eventually just gave up on them. It just got tired of, like, you know, you need to be the interested party too. You know, and it's like, it almost seemed like they had other things to do, and shit, I haven't talked to that person since before the millennium. I used to game with them all the time, but it just gets old. If you're the one that's like, man, if I don't do anything, nothing gets done. You know, and I guess the boys had a good time playing on Monday, but I wasn't there. But that's good, you know. You need to be independent. You can be like the main organizer, but man, it gets tiring to be the ones carrying all the weight around. You know. You find it gets tiring. I'm in a similar situation. I want to play games. I have to ask people and set it up, and it never works out. Yeah, I mean, there's a saying in Spanish that says the well, the translation is not. It's not a very complicated saying, but it's "Tú tienes que ser el interesado." You need to be the interested one. I can't be the one that's interested for you. So show some interest. You know. Yeah, it's exhausting. I don't think they know what goes into it. Spend hours prepping everything, buying the game, buying the figures, buying the dice, learning the rules, setting it up, and then they don't like it, or they, you know, poo-poo something that you do. I have to go take a tinkle. I'll be right back. Yeah, it gets exhausting. I just wish you could get my friends in a DBA. Get other friends. Oh, man. You ever play a game that nobody else plays? You ever play like a game that you're really into, that everybody you encounter and you tell them about the game, nobody's ever heard of it or ever played it? One of my favorite games I've ever played. One of my favorite games? Top 10, certainly. Maybe even top 5 games I've ever played. It's a video game called not Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead sucked and was extremely stressful. State of Decay. And it's a PC only. Well, it's a company. It was made by a small company. It was bought by Microsoft Studios, so they make it for the Xbox Series and also PC. And it is an awesome zombie game. It is an awesome zombie game. You like Barbarian? It could be anything like that. I'm great. I want to be human. I always play humans. I have no interest in not playing. Actually, I played a dwarf one time, and I had a great time. I was playing this guy that I know puts on some great terrain, so he'd made the whole Hero Quest thing in 3D, and he randomly assigned who I played. So I had to play a dwarf. I've never played a dwarf in my life. Have no interest in playing dwarves, and I had a freaking blast because the whole time I was, the bad Scottish accent and talked about how I needed to use a step stool for everything, and how drunk I was, how much of a badass I was, and my kickstand. It was talking about Oh man, there's a game called Disaster Report. I never met someone into it. I never even heard of it. You feel that way with Command Decision. Well, we all used to play Command Decision, so Volley and Bayonet is one definitely you don't hear much about. Not when it comes to video games. They're the ones telling me about these games. For me, that's DBA. Yeah. Heck, I've learned about more new video computer games from this stream alone. Yeah. Well, they don't take the place of face-to-face stuff, but it's just something else to do to kind of this guy needs some boots, and we're going to do some Turkish boots. And where's my Turkish boot color? I've seen lots of Turkish boots in this light color, an excuse to use coat the arms again. For me, that's DBA. If I would have seen the DBA rules, I'd have never picked them up. That hogwash language that's written in. What kind of... What's this guy trying to do? Not sell a set of rules? You got to get through that. One of these days, I'm going to get fed up with it and start working on my own stuff. And that's also the same day that I'll be retired. Because it's going to take a lot of work. But I've said before, you'll still be able to use the same army list. I'm not making army lists for it. Because all you do is just, if you make your own army list, the information you're looking for doesn't exist. So unless you have an agenda where you want to make, some army super, and it wasn't, then you're basically taking somebody else's material and then calling it your own. So what's the point? And just cut the crap and just use somebody else's army list. And that way when somebody asks, well, how come you made these guys, how come, the 100 Years' War English get 3 of those and these guys only get 2 of them? I said, I don't know, you'll have to ask Phil Barker. There you go, there's your out. You don't have to worry about it. So, but I would like another set of rules that's a lot easier for new people to understand. We spend way too much time arguing and trying to figure out how units get into contact with each other. It is just exhausting. It is exhausting trying to decipher that, especially because it's so abstract. So it's not like you can, make a judgment call, and because sometimes you do that and it's the opposite. When you find it, it's the opposite of what you thought. So something it's a lot easier with you know, all the rules being in one place, you know, everything that involves, you know, the blade stand are all in one location, not some of it's here, some of it's over there, some of it's in the other place, you know. Something that's got to be easier for people to get started, because right now the format is not that. Definitely not that. You're fortunate you never read the DBA rules. Learn how to play by playing with experienced players. Show me the ropes. Just picked it up the way it was many years ago. Apparently that's the way the English speak. I don't know about that. There's a lot of the players, and it's a lot more popular in England. Lots of people have problems with it. It's you know, it's how it's organized. It's not necessarily even the sentences. It's just, can we put all the stuff that involve this all in one place so we can find them? Use bullet points and not, you know, not necessarily his language. I mean, yes, his language could be better. There's no doubt about that. But he creates a sentence that has like 5 different thoughts in the sentence. Like, dude, you know, you gotta. Do you want people to play your rules wrong? No. No should be the answer. Well, you know, you can make it clearer for us, you know, mortals. You know, and he's a sharp guy. I don't really have anything against him, but, you know, his rules are so complicated. Those of us that are trying to teach everybody else are literally paying the penance for his sins. I watched so many games by Tony and his crew that I feel like I wouldn't mind completely dark playing for the first time. You probably wouldn't be. Isn't there an American group that has rewritten DBA? They kind of made their own rules, but it's not really their rules. So you couldn't handle Three Kingdoms lists, had to make your own. Find info in the DBA book is really annoying. Yeah. You know, and there's just some stuff that he just pulled out of thin air. The information just isn't there. Like, okay, there's an army I was interested in building. Okay, it's a Chinese army. The Chinese army is would be called Former Qin. Okay, they are after the Three Kingdoms period, and they're a dynasty that happens around 300 or 400 AD. Okay. They have an interesting mix of troops. They have some heavy cavalry. They have some heavy foot. They have some shooters. They have hordes, stuff like that. They're involved in one battle that's known of, the Battle of the Fei River, where they get their asses kicked. Their asses kicked, completely handed to them by, I forget who, but they get devastated in the battle. So the nice thing about an army like that is if you build it, and you just win a few of your games, you're doing so much better than the historical army. Hey, it makes you feel a little better about it, you know? But Phil Barker somehow has an army list for him that consists of what the army consists of and troop types. He pulled that out of thin air. The information does not exist. First of all, ancient sources do not have the amount of detail of orders of battles that we would like to as wargamers. Okay, they don't exist. On top of that, Asian sources frequently have the records that are destroyed by dynasties that follow farther along. First Emperor of China, he didn't like what some intellectuals were going to write about him, so he buried him in the frickin' wall, you know, and burned a lot of the stuff that they wrote. So not a lot of things were written, because not everybody wrote in those times. And then they would write about things that aren't necessarily relevant to a TO&E. And the information doesn't exist. So, you know, you just kind of have to just wing it. At the end of the day, it's just a war game, you know. But, you know, you have to realize that a lot of those things just aren't set in stone. You know, and they're judgment calls. You know, educated guesses kind of things. One of my favorite gaming pals from Canada is getting a Field of Glory. I like the rules for that game. Think I might paint up some rules for that. You think DBA is bad? 40K just as bad with a lot more rules. 40K, the biggest problem would be the codex mentality. Not all the rules are in one place. You know, oh, this is a special rule that these guys do that's in the supplement, that's the edition done in 2009. It's available. No, it's just too complicated. Um, One thing that hasn't changed throughout history is everyone hates a critic. There are rules upon rules. The winner is usually a player who remembers the most rules for their own army. Yeah. Well, as time goes on, I like the tournament because it allows you to use the army that you built. So you can play with your toys. You show up with your toys, your figures, and you use them. That's the incentive to get more of those toys to use them again. As far as being uber competitive, yeah, we're uber competitive, but we're not win at all cost people. We want the other guy to play better. Just it doesn't mean we're not going to razz the guy, you know. But I think in the future, I'm kind of more interested in playing games or scenarios that are more along the lines of the historical stuff that we did, that Connor Truby made. In other words, more historical battles and situations with different winning conditions where I'm not worried about trying to beat Mitch as much as far as like, oh, well, what about this move you didn't think? I think I enjoyed that a lot more than worrying about what kind of a win-loss record a new army that I painted was going to have. I don't know if that makes any sense. And that doesn't mean I'm not competitive. But, you know, it's just something it's a little bit different. I enjoy a lot talking about what options I have to make and why I pick the ones I do. I think it helps me make decisions, and I know it's a lot more interesting to listen to than freaking silence, and it's got to be helpful for new players. So, a lot of Chinese armies he did, or if he was using a really, really bad book. Yeah, I know what book that is. The earlier issue about codex mentalities. They never release all the codexes one time. That's probably the worst part. So you get super armies and armies that never see a new codex. Rules of the game itself, rules for army at large, rules for each unit, rules for a troop type. Equipment and weapons are upgraded with leadership attachments. Yeah. When things were written about battles, everything was over exaggerated and wrong names, you know. So, pretty sure the next period I'm going to go into after this is probably going to be the successors. Why do I know that? Well, I got new material in the mail. And it's a really interesting period. It's a really interesting period of really interesting armies that are all similar but not similar, and really cool combined arms. They pretty much lack bow fire for the most part. That's probably the one element that they don't have. But I had picked up this in the mail. Wars of Alexander's Successor. It's really affordable, actually. It's less than $20, and you know they have a companion one, which that came in a couple days ago. This is the Battles and Tactics. So I'm going through a couple of audiobooks on it because I want to really get who's who and where they were a second nature in my head before I start getting into the super detailed stuff, you know. So I don't get, you know, I'm like, okay, Cassander, okay, he's the son of Antipater, that kind of stuff. What's really hard when you're doing Diadochi stuff in particular is if you're listening to a audiobook, some people just are really bad at pronouncing things. Really, really bad. Like I had never heard before, the one I'm reading now, I had never heard before somebody pronouncing Lysimachus. Like, did you go out of your way to call Lysimachus that? You know? What's the other one? This guy pronounces all kinds of things wrong. So I have to, like, you know, it just blows my mind. But anyways, Antipater, I think I don't know, he calls him something different. Anyways, it's painful. Anyway, so this is on my pick these things up because I am going to do some historical battles. So in detail. We've played kind of a mini campaign where we did matchups of different guys fighting each other, but I want to do actual battles that these guys are in. And of course, the icing on the cake is Hellenistic armies with, this has reenactor stuff in it. Yeah, well, that's probably a bad example, but there's like shields and shit like that. Inspiration for different things. This is actually a pretty easy to read book, and you know, this is from that used book place, and it said very good condition, and it's basically in new condition, except the packaging they put on it, like it got hit on the corner, so it's actually in better shape than I thought the book was going to be in, except I realized that basically the book was new, and had they packaged it differently, I would have gotten basically a new book. Oh well, I just have to get over it. That is a beautiful shield. That is a beautiful, beautiful shield, and we're going to have to do something like that. So we'll have to paint some Therapoloi. Anyhow, that's coming. I have my Ptolemaics that need to be 3.0 compatible, but Ptolemy is the man. He's your favorite one, huh? You know what I love the most about historical games? Tiger Tank is going to be a Tiger Tank in all World War II rules. Roman Legionnaire is going to be that no matter what the rules. Okay. Sure. Why don't I try the game of rules for DBA? They seem really interesting. We just haven't gotten around to it. There's lots of things that are really interesting. Ptolemy is the man. I got successor armies sitting around to be painted. What used bookstore did you get those from? They're called World Books or something like that. They're on eBay. So they don't charge you for shipping. Well, it's included in the price. They just don't tell you that. But it does make you feel better as a consumer. They're called, I believe they're called World Books USA. And they took a long time to get here, but you know, it is what it is. But they do a good job shipping. The previous one that I got was like basically brand new. And anyhow, there's good stuff out there. So, Lysimachus. Oh man, so you like Ptolemy, huh? I never had a thing for Ptolemy. I don't know that I have a favorite successor general. Now we're not going to call Pyrrhus, because Pyrrhus is definitely my successor, but he's kind of after that period. I mean, never knew Alexander or anything like that. He was he's definitely my favorite, but I wouldn't call him he's a successor general, but not a Diadochi, I would say. So of the other guys, I don't know that I have a preference to any of them. You know, Seleucus was pretty cool, but he got murdered, so, you know, not so cool. Yeah, I don't know that I have a preference. I've learned about guys I didn't know anything about. Like, I didn't know anything about Polyperchon, or Peucestus, or Python. I didn't know anything about those guys before, so it's interesting. It's definitely interesting. I just don't like the idea of he had the foresight to hijack Alexander's corpse, use it to prop up his dynasty. I just don't like the idea of crowning himself pharaoh. I guess if I was going to like a guy, I would like a guy that wouldn't be contaminated by other cultures. Oh, I sound like a racist. No, I'm just saying if I want to be a Macedonian guy, I want to have Macedonian troops. I don't mind having auxiliaries, but I don't want to be, you know... Well, that's an interesting question. Who should have been the successor? Who, in your opinion, should have succeeded to Alexander? The strongest one. No. Who would it have been? Would it have been... that's another one of the named. Perdicus. Who the hell calls him Perdicus? Anyhow. Who should have been the successor? Or who's the good guy? Yeah, it looked like it was really complicated. And the more and more I read about it, the less and less complicated it is becoming. So I'm definitely want to learn more about these guys. There's a thing on YouTube about they take a couple of the statues and bring them to life. It's really freaking cool. And of course, they're just guessing on hair and stuff like that. I don't know that there's any guys I dislike, though. I don't know if there's any guys that I really dislike. So maybe I don't have a preference. But I have the Ptolemaic army because I built them because they were littoral. That was the reason why I built them. So, did I look up Aurelian? I did not. But that's way outside my period. Yeah, he's like, is he the guy that he's one of those Crisis of the 3rd century guys, right? Perdiccas gets murdered by his own people. Well, that's not very. I prefer people that aren't murdered by their own people. Just like, hey, I prefer guys that aren't captured. I prefer guys that aren't murdered by their own folks. Okay, this guy needs a cloth to write on, and I feel like we need some green to offset it. And we're not going to go batshit crazy with a green. Let's do something like this. Who is your least favorite successor? That's a better question. Who's not your favorite? Who's your least favorite successor? Let's see how the Russian uniform. Let's do the Russian uniform. It's not too crazy. We can lighten it up as we need to. Remember, these guys are poor. They're so poor they have to work for the Byzantines. Oh, too watery still. I need to update the greatest general list. So the greatest general, if you don't know what that is, that's a thing that if you look in DBMM, there's a list of generals that Phil Barker says are brilliant. And there's also a list where they're inert, but there's a brilliant general list. I pulled it because at the time, I did not have the DBMM books physically. I do have them now. So there is a pirated copy of DBMM, the first version from like 2007, that some turd decided to upload it on the internet. And I say turd because, I don't think you should put copyrighted stuff on the internet. At the same time that I don't mind using it because I'm not doing it, but I did buy the books. But there's been some other guys that have been added to that list that are not in the greatest general list from the original DBMM. So I need to update that because I came across one of them that is not in that earlier list. So, and Demetrius is that guy. Demetrius is one of those guys that's on there. Antipater or Craterus would likely have been a good overall successor. Yeah, Craterus, untimely end. I think the edge would go to Antipater because he was advisor of Philip and Alexander in the region of Macedonia. Yeah, he was an old guy who was around. Yeah. Craterus. It'd been interesting. It would have been interesting what would have happened with Craterus had he not died in that battle with Eumenes, right? The battle against Eumenes. Demetrius. Of all the successors, they all pale in comparison to Alexander. I thought there should be a house rule for good generals. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not I think Alexander was awesome. I think he was awesome, but I don't really care for reread the thing on him again. I don't really care for him. I'm sympathetic. Okay, let me rephrase it. I am sympathetic to the Macedonian generals that did not want to Asiatify their army, their the prostration and all that stuff. So I'm sympathetic to those guys. I'm naturally a conservative, so that. So who would that be? Who were the guys that did not like that he did that? That would have been crap. I got to go back and start reading again. I think Antipater was one of those guys. I wouldn't have done that. Why be a good general when you can be a great general? I just don't think the matchups against Alexander are very... Okay, him against the Persians is a good matchup, but I don't think him against the Indians are a good matchup. Certainly not at DVA. I think the Indians have a big advantage. But again, if you're doing historical battles, you can add things into the rules that change the rules to give a more realistic type of result. So... So one thing I have never seen anybody do is, so let's say Alexander lives. Supposedly he was going to go after Carthage next. Well, that seems like a cakewalk to me, because the Carthaginian list ain't great. Ain't freaking great. And then I read something else that was going to be Arabia. Kind of like Tamerlane. Tamerlane dies, right? After beating the Turks. He was going to head to Ming China. That'd be an interesting matchup. The what ifs, the historical what ifs, the things that almost happened. Not some far-fetched thing like what if he would end up fighting in some faraway place that he couldn't reach. But realistic, like, okay, who is next on the chopping block? Did you just didn't get around to doing it? Cletus the Black had issues with how Alexander changed and was killed for it. Yeah. Favorite historical quote: I do not fear an army of lions led by a sheep. I fear an army of sheep led by a lion. Well, I don't think he faced any of those guys, did he? Cletus the Black as opposed to Cletus the White. And just like that, I've been painting for a couple hours. Well, it's thanks to you guys and the interesting, stimulating conversation that you never know what we're going to, you start talking about movies, and next thing we come back to Alexander. Mr. Dirk, welcome. Wednesday evening painting. Yeah, we'll probably have Thursday evening painting and probably painting every evening here for a couple days. I got half a mind to build an Alexandrian army first and then morph it from that. But we'll see. There's not a huge incentive to do that. The incentive to do that is, you know, I could do my best to make it look right. And it'd be cool to have a little Alexander figure on there running around. Is he a hairdresser? Is he the great? Is he a general or a hairdresser? Depends how he rolls, right? Chats are like a box of chocolates. Ain't that right? Well, you know what? It's not for me to decide what we're going to talk about. It's not up to me. This color ended up turning yucky, so I may replace it. Let's see what I can do to it. It looks a bit drab. Maybe if we add some stripes, using this lighter color. I think I just done saved it. I wish there was more statues or more, you know, art or whatever about some of these successors, just to kind of wrap your head around like some of them. You got some guys, but you got coins, but coins aren't very good, you know. Artists seem to like putting blue on Alexander's armor. Yeah, there's always does anyone in your group have Alexander armor? Yep, Mitch does. Yep. Yeah, he does. So. It's the same way I would handle it, the same way I would handle medieval armies. I can't have a generic medieval army. I can't have a generic successor army that I'm going to use for, okay, these are the pikemen that I use for everybody. It's like, no. These are the guys that I'm going to use as a Seleucid pikeman. These are the guys that I'm going to use as the Antigonid pikeman. These are the guys that I'm going to use as the Greco-Bactrian pikeman, you know. Make them look different. You know, make Polypercon's army. You know, make a figure for him, you know. That kind of stuff. Yeah, I still can't figure out, like, what's his name? How the hell he got killed by Gauls when he was on an elephant. Try doing that in DBA. Good luck with that. Like, Gauls are +2 versus mounted, and Elephant's a freaking 5 versus foot. Oh, it's an elephant general. It's a 6. Yeah, that's not happening. All right. Let's get a bag. And let's give it some color. Let's get a yellow bag. Damn it, man. Oh, wrong yellow. This is what we wanted. You know, these are small figures, but they actually have quite a bit of detail. So they take a little bit of time to paint them, but whatever. There's only 2 on each stand. How bad could it be? It is 10:30, so we'll probably need to... I'm not that tired. It was that coffee, but I do need to probably go to bed soon. Because any way you cut it, I gotta be up at 5. I should be up at 5, because I don't like to get up and be rushed. So the 5 o'clock start time wasn't for painting as much as it was for going to work. I just decided to always get up at the same time, whether it was a work day or not. So if you have to get up a lot earlier on a work day than you do on a day where you don't work, you feel really screwed by going to work. So the easiest way to avoid that is just get up at that same ridiculous time every day. Right. Strappings on the horse. We're going to use a light color. Looks like there's some like little buckles or something on there. We'll make those stand out nicely. Let's use an almost off-white color. That should look pretty nice. Let's do, say, this color. It's over here. What is this? Silver gray. Okay. Am I on vacation? I am not. No, I got to work tomorrow and the next day. Love how Tony puts his glasses on to read word type at a million in orders. Yeah, I don't know what the hell that alley. You should put a picture of her on your Facebook page there, Rick. Maybe holding a large drink. You want some Gorilla Glue for your... See me laughing. I used Gorilla Glue one time, and it was a freaking mess. I think at the time, though, they only had one. Now there's all kinds of... There's like Gorilla Super Glue, the Gorilla this, Gorilla the other thing. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to put my glasses on to read, but I can't see jack shit. And honestly, I wish there was a way I could make the text on the talk big. And maybe there is a way. I'm just not smart enough to figure that out. I'm just a bloody painter. Maybe there's a way to expand that. Because I don't need to see the screen that I'm seeing. If we'd done this 10 years ago, I wouldn't need to use glasses. I'd just paint with my contacts in. All right. Let's get us black. Oh, I know who didn't like his freaking going Eastern. Parmenio. Parmenio didn't like him going east, and he got murdered for it. Went rogue. Yeah, it's a good thing that guy did his job at freaking Gaugamela. Or Alexander would have taken off and left everybody else in the lurch. I have a feeling, though, if we do some of those battles, though, if you do some of those successor battles, from what I've read, and I haven't read many of them in detail, but one thing that seems to be a constant is that when one side starts to lose, the guys will switch sides. So maybe that's a cool, interesting win mechanic, you know? Because they're just basically fighting their own people. They're fighting other, mostly mercenaries. So it's not some fight to death where they really believe. It's not like, you know, Barbarossa or something like that, where it's, you know, two different, completely different ideologies fighting each other. It's just, hey, you know, I got the silver shields over here, and, you know, we're going to fight the other guy. So different win conditions are definitely possible if you can incorporate that into some of the historical battles, because the casualties seem to be, you know, everybody wants to get home in one piece, you know. Parmenio Philotas had issues and got sorted out. Amazing what the heat can do to make things smellier. Yeah, I've heard you don't want to go to New York City in the summer. I don't want to go to New York City at all. I've been to New York City, and no thanks. But if I travel to other places, I really am not a fan of going to places in the summer, because I already live in a hot as shit place. You know, my favorite activity in the summer is staying indoors. You know, actually, if I'm wet, I don't care. You know, if I'm at the pool, the beach, I can deal with the heat. It's not a big deal. So we're going to use some bronze buckles for this. For the horse. Make him stand out a little bit. This is the original bottle of bronze. I've used this thing a lot. There's maybe a third of it left, I think. Aurelian got killed for no good reason. Political opponent, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, Pennsylvania's almost just as hot as here in the summer. And unfortunately, when we go up there, it's the hot season. We'll be up there in 6 weeks or so. Unless they put some kind of restrictions on there that we don't want to abide by, in which case we won't go. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. But you never know. I'm not too worried about not being able to attend 1 year. At one point, I'm like, man, I don't want an unbroken year of, because I've gone to Historicon every year since 2006, except 2020 when they didn't have it, and last year when they decided to move it to November and put restrictions on you too. So, which really didn't matter. Being in November is a deal breaker for me. I can't travel in that month. I got too much stuff going on. Too much stuff going on. In November. November is literally the worst month. December would be better. Any month would be better than November for me. So, once I've missed one, I'm like, okay, well, next year if I can't go because we're taking a big trip to Europe or something like that, or then I won't be able to go. It's not the end of the world. Wouldn't be able to go just for vacation time. I've been maxed out on vacation time at my job for many years now, probably over a decade. I forget exactly what it is, but it's not the end of the world. It's rather expensive to go up there. Yeah, it is and it isn't. I mean, not compared to other hobbies. I still say this hobby we have is really cheap compared to other hobbies. I mean, say, the shooting sports. I mean, that's out of control. Boats. Boats is probably worse than anything. I mean, a boat costs more than your freaking car. It's just absurd. Money pit, And you got to spend a shitload of time working on it when you're not enjoying it what you bought it for. So, double whammy. So, wargaming is a pretty freaking cheap hobby. You just got to have some restraint and, don't do like Rick and have to buy a whole bottom floor of your house where it's all your game room. I've never been in no humidity in a summertime environment. I don't think I would like it very much. I'm certain I wouldn't like it very much. I don't know exactly what the hell I'm looking at on this figure. This figure has so many freaking details on it. But anyhow, I think this is where we're going to stop for the night, or I'm going to be up. That was a good run. What was it? Over 2 hours for sure. 2 hours and 12 minutes. So, yeah. Okay, well, thanks for stopping by, folks. As always, we'll probably be on tomorrow night, about the same time. It's going to be really difficult to get on here earlier than like 8:30. So, you haven't had much restraint lately buying miniatures. I've got really good restraint. But, I've made a lot of poor decisions when it comes to buying stuff, And I mean by pouring stuff, it's, poor decisions mean, I bought stuff and never did anything with them, and it doesn't feel good to do that. So, Rick getting thrown under the bus and getting double tapped. Not necessarily in that order. California might have cons this year, but they don't publicize much. They don't like out-of-staters. That's okay. I'm never going to go to California for a con. All right, folks. We will see you. You got a lot painted. Excellent. That's what they're here for. Just, it's like a talk show with no politics. Or, arguing about sports or some shit like that. So, all right, folks.